Honoring our parents means having the courage, means having the strength to face the things in them that they refuse to face inside themselves. It means to have the courage, to have the strength to see past their blind spots, meaning to see past their stories. I think of blind spots as this in myself. Every time I refuse to feel something, I create a blind spot. I generate a blind spot. How so? Say, for example, I'm going through a friendship breakup, right? And instead of feeling the grief, the weight of that loss, I then resolve to create a story about them. Oh, I'm such a great person. Oh, people always come into my life and they just use me and abuse me. And, and I create the story. People just take advantage of me and blah, 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 blah. Story. And so instead of feeling the weight of the emotion, I then create a story in order to protect me from the feeling. So I don't have to sit in the weight of the grief. I don't have to sit in the weight of the sadness and the longing. Oh, I have a story and it keeps me safe, right? And so blind spots are spaces in ourselves that become calcified, spaces in our hearts that become calcified. It's spaces in our heart where we've refused to go and we've refused to feel. We've refused for life, for love to expand us. So that creates a blind spot. So honoring your parents means seeing and feeling past their blind spots, right? It means having the courage to face the things that they ran from. It means having the strength to look the things that they've been running away from dead in the eyes. Dead in the eyes, facing them where? Facing them in yourself. Because you must understand, you must remember that our parents are just mirrors of us. We are them and they are us. No matter how much we might dislike them, right? But they are us and we are them. And they are our greatest teachers. And that's why we are called to honor them. That's why we are called to witness them. But you have to understand, in order to witness something, you have to be able to look at it non-judgmentally. And that's hard, particularly if you come from a home that's been sore. It's hard. It's very hard, right? But the call to honor, the call to witness it's a call to feel. It means you have to now start feeling past your resentment and your hatred and your sadness and your stories, because you have to understand also you've become quite calcified, right? Growing up in those spaces, growing up in those broken homes, growing up in those sore homes, they leave us quite calcified, unable to breathe, unable to connect with our bodies, unable to connect with our emotions. And so when the call to honor our parents comes, because we're unable to honor the call, because it's calling us into something very dangerous within ourselves. It's asking us to feel. It's asking us to feel all those dangerous things that your parents were unable to feel. And thus, that is why they created such a tumultuous space, a tumultuous environment that you grew up in. Do you see? So honoring your parents has nothing to do with them. It's about you. It saves you. It's about you saving yourself. It's about you paying attention, sitting up straight in the class and going, okay, cool. Let me watch my mother. Right? And instead of just judging my mother, I have to understand my mother, because I have to understand that the same sickness, the same illness that's been operating in my mother operates in me. It might manifest differently in her, but the illness is there nonetheless. And particularly for people that have come from sore homes, when you leave home, or even if you're still home and, you're sort of planning your exit in a few years, we kind of resolve to be nothing like our parents, right? And oftentimes in that resolution, we fail to diagnose the root of the illness, and we oftentimes just condemn the performance of the illness, the expression of the illness. And so when we resolve to be nothing like our parents, what we mean is that we're not going to express the same illness in the same way. Because oftentimes when we say we're not going to be anything like our parents, say for example your mother was incredibly mean or erratic, and say your father was aggressive and emotionally unavailable, emotionally manipulative. And so when you resolve to be nothing like them, what you often resolving to do is to not perform the illness in the same way, and you fail to become curious about the roots that hold that illness. And oftentimes, we go, I won't be as mean as my mother, but we hardly ever say, I won't lack the same compassion, the same patience, the same understanding for myself as my mother did. I will give myself so much compassion that I won't have to be mean to myself. I won't have to be so short with myself that I end up projecting that onto everyone in my environment, right? And that failure to really diagnose and become curious about the roots that hold our sickness means that we become subjected to perpetuating the same illnesses, the same sicknesses that held our parents. And so what in turn happens that we become a disguise of the very things that we despise in them. And that's kind of how the generational curse keeps perpetuating itself, generation after generation after generation, right? Because how I understand the generational curse, or how I understand the generational curse to be, I think of it like a soap opera. Like Generations, if you are in South Africa or around the African continent, you should know Generations or Bold and the Beautiful, right? And so it's always like the same storyline on loop. They're constantly recycling the same storylines, but the show has a way of feeling new and dynamic because they have different performers, of the same tropes. They have different contexts, different locations, different wardrobes, different different settings that make the show feel new, that make it feel like we're not watching the same shit on loop. But in actuality, it's the same storylines, the same tropes, just being recycled over and over and over again, right? Just constantly just sprinkling spice to deceive you into thinking that you're watching a new thing. And I think that's really how generational curses hold us, right? And how they become perpetuated. They disguise themselves. They're masters of disguise. They thrive on being invisible, and the more invisible they are, the more invisible these sicknesses are. The more invisible the roots of the issues become, is the more they keep thriving, right, and disguising themselves. And so we constantly think we're not like we're not like our parents, or we're not like the generation before that. We think we're different, but really we're perpetuating the same things, just it looks different, just in a different disguise. Yeah. So I just feel like, the call to honor our parents is the call to reclaim ourselves back to ourselves, is the call to finally get a chance to experience a self that belongs to us. And that's why, we are promised more life. That's why we promised that we'll have more days on earth. Days not meaning that we'll be given, 10 more days or an extra year, but really the increase of days meaning that you will live. And to live means belonging to yourself. You'll belong to yourself. You'll be autonomous. You'll be sovereign in yourself. You'll actually get to make decisions instead of just constantly being stuck in this loop, in this script where you're not a player, where you're not making any decisions, but you're just sort of like stuck in the script, stuck acting in this show that you don't even know you're part of. Okay, so from me, listen, I've been thinking about this for a long time, as you can see, and if you really watched everything, I'm so grateful. But yeah, man, to honor our parents is such a high calling. It restores us back to life. It's for our benefit. It's for our good. It's for us to regain and reclaim our life back, and to reclaim our blood back, reclaim everything that's in our blood. But yeah, that's it from me. Meh, and this was straight from the mother. Peace, love.